This next one is a primary close for consumers who have a trade-in. How many times have we heard somebody say, I want more for my trade? And we ask, well, why would that be? And they'll say something like, well, I saw one in the ad for this much money, or I saw one in a car lot for this much, or you have one parked outside just like mine and you're asking this much. So grab a pen and piece of paper. This one is a little bit long, but very effective, and it's actually called It's a Fact, FACCDT. Buyer says, I saw an ad and I want $13,500, in this example, $13,500 for my trade-in. And your response is, I can understand why you would ask $13,500 for your car, because you're right. That's what you should be asking. You know, we're only offering you $9,000. And they look at you probably a little bit confused, and you continue on. As a matter of fact, $13,500 is close to what we would ask for your vehicle if we took it in and kept it for resale. Gut instinct, and based on your research, that's what I would ask if I were you. Now, we find it takes us 30 to maybe 90 days to sell a really popular trade. If I could, let's just jot down some rough numbers looking at the cost of sale. So you pull over your talking pad, a blank piece of paper, and you start jotting down some numbers. First number on the top, $13,500, and you write down beside it the words asking price. Down in the bottom, leave yourself a few inches, you would write down $9,000 net. That's at the bottom. In between, let's do the abbreviation or acronym. It's FACCDT, writing that down from top to bottom. Mr. Customer, I've got an abbreviation here I call FACT, which really helps me remember what our cost of sale is when we do purchase a vehicle or when we're looking at selling one ourselves. Would you mind if I went through it? The first F stands for financing inventory charges. Mr. Customer, we don't own the vehicles at the dealership. They're all financed at a bank or perhaps a credit union or maybe our captive finance arm. A lot of customers selling a vehicle privately don't own the vehicles themselves. What they realize and what we realize is between the time you start trying to sell a vehicle to the time you actually dispose of it, there may be some financing costs we would need to recoup. In our case, because it's interest only, we're talking about $200 to maybe $400, and it kind of goes down as a deduct beside the F. The next A stands for advertising costs. Well, as you know, you can't sell a secret. We're looking at advertising the vehicle in the auto trader, perhaps a newspaper, the internet, display on the vehicle, websites, various places. A lot of consumers looking to sell a car privately these days have access to the same types of advertising. I would think that $200 or $300 would be fair costs of advertising for 2 or 3 months. The next C is conditioning or perhaps reconditioning. We know internally that it takes us about $1,200 to get a vehicle frontline ready. Now, if you were to sell a vehicle privately, it would be expected that the person coming to you to look at your car would want to look at it closely, take it for a drive, and perhaps drive it over to their mechanic. Now, their mechanic would go over the vehicle and come up with some reconditioning costs themselves. I would think $1,200 in our case as an average is fair. I'd have to leave your number up to you. Next C is compensation. It's what it's all about. You're looking to save a little bit of money. We're looking to make a little bit of money. I mean, there's no secrets there. I don't know what this is worth, so let me just put down a couple of question marks beside that. The D stands for discounts, or perhaps dickering. We're sort of doing that right now. In a used vehicle, private sale situation, or perhaps even on our lot, if we were asking $13,500, I would be willing to bet there might be $500 to $1,500 there that's allowed just simply for discounting and dickering to help people come to an agreement. So let me put that in. So now subtract $1,000 to perhaps $1,500. Now, of course, the tax savings. Where we live, we're lucky enough to have a tax savings transferable to the buyer on the trade-in. Basically what happens is you won't pay the amount of tax on your next transaction, which is equal to this net amount. So this actually works out to be here $1,425. All right, let me just add this all up. Do your add, do your deducts, your subtracts. You come down to a bottom number. Mr. Buyer, as you can see, our number isn't really that far off. Now, I know we only guessed on some, but we also save you the hassle of trying to sell it privately, showing it to strangers, being available 24/7, you or whoever else is going to have to show this car and demonstrate it, letting strangers take your car to their mechanic, perhaps helping with their financing or whatever. Now, our $9,000 offer plus the tax credit is $10,425. That's $10,425. With your quick okay, we can move forward and eliminate this hassle for you. Would you prefer a 10 or an 11 a.m. delivery?